Hello and welcome to another episode of my series Journey to Jool. And to be honest, this is a little bit of an embarrassment because I had to reshoot this. I was planning on doing a refuel of my Jool spacecraft, the Joolishka, in lower Kerbal orbit, but unfortunately Bandicam crashed during the recording and I lost almost everything of the video file, so I did the entire refueling again, at least the launching sequence. Which you can see here actually. This is my refueling craft, the Refuelus Maximus, and it can carry 7 large Kerbal tanks, that's almost 580 tons of payload, into orbit. The launcher I'm using is capable of lifting up to 1100 tons into orbit, but that won't be necessary today. I'm using MacJab actually for this ascent because after doing it the first time I got bored and didn't want to do it again because it's like 10 minutes of just watching this thing going straight up into the sky. Putting this launcher together was rather easy, to be honest. It was not that hard than one of my previous versions I did earlier, which was way more complicated, maybe a little bit more efficient, but it did not manage to get that amount of payload into orbit. And here we are coasting to the edge of the atmosphere and getting ready to perform our circularization burn. As I mentioned in episode 1 of the series, maybe the refueling is not completely necessary, but I just want to do it to be on the safe side, to have some error margin should I encounter some problems in the Jool system or mess up transfers or anything like that, which, as I know myself, is probably going to happen. So here I'm setting up a rendezvous with my main craft and we're hoping to get it in a few orbits. First of all, a plane change to get the ascending and descending node down to 0 degrees. And here I'm looking for a rendezvous. I'm not using MacJab this time because I think its method of doing a new orbit and then decreasing the orbit is a little bit too ineffective. And here we have an encounter of about, well, 500 meters. That's close enough. But it's in a few hours. So, let's execute that maneuver node via MacJab because I'm a little bit too lazy at the moment. And now we wait for a long time. No, we don't, because we have Kerbal Alarm Clock. Kerbal Alarm Clock is this handy mod which enables you to set up alarms for certain events inside the game. For instance, if you're closing in on a maneuver node, or you're closing in on the apoapse, or anything else you can define. And here we go back to the Space Center, which enables us to warp forward way quicker than we would be able if we would stay in with the craft in orbit. So here we are close to our maneuver node and we jump to the craft and then we can execute that node. KSP, of course. It's usually laggy self, loading and loading. So here we are on the dark side of the planet, unfortunately, so there's not much to see here. And where's the maneuver node? There it is. And we're still looking good for a rendezvous. Setting up the node, waiting for the burn. And here we go. Are we close? Yes, we are. Of course, as I mentioned before, it's a little bit frustrating to do all of this again because I have done it before and had a corrupt video file. which I will show to you later. Close to the craft, and we're ditching the previous stage, even although it still has some fuel left in it, but it's way easier to maneuver only this stage of the spacecraft. Just letting it get a little bit closer, and I'm performing another burn to match velocities with my target. There we go. As you can see, I'm only using one of the big Kerbal engines, which is actually enough to get this thing moving, and also enables me to be way more precise with my throttle control. And what a beautiful sight, both a spacecraft in close proximity to the planet. Now we just have to set up the position so the docking ports can align, and we're good to go to dock and transfer the fuel, which of course is a very long and tedious process, and I'm going to spare you that by quickly moving forward. Yeah, and it wouldn't be me if I wouldn't be almost crashing into my own spacecraft. Fortunately, I was able to stop in time and not even damage the solar panels, which are of course very prone to any damage from engine exhaust. Getting slowly around and then trying to line up the docking ports. Of course, I'm using the Werner engines, those little nozzles that act like the reaction control system that uses monopropellant, but instead uses liquid fuel and oxidizer. Here I'm trying to switch to the main craft, the Jool, in order to line it up with my refueling craft, and here's the old footage, at least what I was able to salvage after the corrupted file. I've been filling up the Jool, and now it's time to head home. Thing is, with this big refueling craft, it costs a lot of money if you would play it in career mode. Fortunately, at the moment it still has enough delta V left to make a safe descent if I use all of the 7 engines, and if I can manage to keep my throttle control steady enough. And that's what I'm going to try right now. Deorbiting into the ocean. Move on. Folding in the solar panels so they won't get ripped off by the air currents. And can we manage to land this thing safely in the water? Let's see. I know I managed to do that in the old video file, which of course got corrupted, but let's see if I can repeat that feat. Slowly burning down, easy on the throttle. Easy. I'm really trying to get below 6 meters per second of vertical speed, but it's not easy with that many engines running, and I failed. Well, at least we salvaged 6 of the engines. Let's hope this is the last screw up of the mission. See you in the next episode, where we will transfer to Jool. Goodbye.